Thank you very much. I think there's a precedence that has been set in this country that for you to be heard, you have to fight to get that space. And that is very wrong indeed. For me to be here, my symbol had to be subjected to a lot of issues with the register of political parties. I had to go to court to get an order, pretending that it is a replica of something else, which wasn't. Surely this, and I feel bad that we have to protest for us to be given the opportunity to air an error or another technicality that IEBC is trying to introduce right here in this house. Look at that checklist you have for both political parties and independent candidates. It has a provision that says that the list of supporters must have voters' numbers in all supporters. For independents, that is number 6, 2. For political parties, that is around number 4. Number 2, I don't know, 1, below number 2, there is 1, 2. That form that you are presented with, a copy which is attached here, did not have a provision for voter numbers. So what is this checklist trying to tell us? That you are trying to put in another technicality to knock out people with? I mean, it doesn't add up what IEBC has been doing. And every day you've been trying to change the goalposts. We come with this tomorrow, it's not needed. Today it's not needed, come with it. After 3 days, come with it. Surely, that's not the way to go. We are really getting agitated on the ground, and that is what is happening with our supporters. Because every day we come, we take that feedback. Yesterday I took my signatures. They were rejected on the technicality that they are not in Excel. That form that I was anywhere in this thing, I've never seen Excel written anywhere. Other than that communication that came through WhatsApp or Facebook. Is that official communication? No. So what is that we are getting from IEBC? I have to go to court again. I'm in court contesting that. What is this IEBC is trying to do? Every day digging yourself in the court, obstacles, raising obstacles for yourself every day. We will not have elections this way because I have to be in that ballot, not through an obstruction that is coming this way, but because the law, the Constitution has barred me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your remarks.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Jeff Kaluyu. I am an independent presidential candidate from diaspora. And my question is very simple, and I won't take long. It is with regard to how we submit the signatures. Last night, when I was submitting my signatures, I saw a number of other people submitting those signatures as well, but in different formats. There's the regular booklet for submitting the signatures, and others are submitting with the Excel spreadsheet. And, you know, I wondered what I should be doing. I don't have a problem trying to submit mine if everything else is accepted, but I would like to make sure that the format and consistency is taken care of, and we are told what we should be, and we shouldn't be disqualified whether it is in either in the booklet form or it should be in an Excel format, or they can be mixed. We just want to be very clear on that. And also, I was being asked to put it in a USB format. So I want to make sure that either CD or USB format are acceptable, and we can go forward with that. So that's all I have, and I just want to make sure the consistency and everything else that's supposed to be taking place has the same, you know, ongoing consistency and format, and everybody is happy. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Mheshimiwa Nyaga.
Thank you, Chair. I too wish to thank the your institution for the job they are doing. And if you take into account those little things that have been raised, those little things that independents have raised, those court things that waste time, if you can sit down, resolve them, even without going to court, it will be a very good election, and history will judge you very fairly. So if I were in your shoes, I would actually sort out these things out of court. These are the things, because I'm told there are some things that are administrative. And you know them, and you know I know them. And there are things that are legal. So, because we want a very good election, very quickly, why don't you just sit with these difficult people, who are not very difficult people, resolve them, then we can move, Mr. Chairman. That's what I'll suggest. On the voters list, I think issues are being raised about even the deadlines and so on. I think these are things, again, we don't have to go to court because of the changes that kept taking place. I registered mine a long time ago using a Joe Nyaga format. Then I was told it was wrong. Then I did another one. And I'm now being told there's something else. I think we can simplify these things. If you tell us what your intentions are, then we can help you resolve some of those issues. But I have over 60,000 in my particular case. But I just want to be sure that I'm not going to be taken around, and I know you don't intend to do that. You intend to do a very good job, and we'll help you do it. Finally, Mr. Chairman, you've heard about the issues. Supposing you give me 4 o'clock Monday as the time to do my registration, and the deadline we've been told is 4 o'clock. Do I have time to go and make those corrections and come back to you? Little things, but because I was in an old government where we played lots of tricks, I'm very careful to be sure that those tricks don't happen to me. Because at 4 o'clock, I can be told the deadline is now. And if the deadline is now, what do I do, Chris? I have a problem if the deadline is now. That's what I'm asking. Little things that will make it very easy for us to be able to cooperate. And may the best person win. And I know the best person is myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa Nyaga. I think we have one more question, and then we'll have the chairman and others take the floor.
Habari zenu. I'm one of the sincere teachers who want to teach you. But many Kenyans are not good students. This time I pray they will be. Now, there are many aspirants. My brother mentioned, I don't know whether it was a mistake, 4,000 independent candidates. Maybe if they are not 4,000 now, they can be more. And that is a good indication that we are not happy with the leadership. It's a good indication. We are not happy. Nobody is happy. And number two, there are wrong ideologies in the world today. There are very wrong ideologies in the world today that change may come through a person with a lot of money. Change may come through a community that is large. Change may come through a person. There is ideology. And it is very unfortunate because it is affecting institutions. Somebody is already talking of it is a two-horse race. An institution, you should not decide. Now, as much as we desire the change we want for our children, for our country, it is actually divine. Change comes from God. And leaders are chosen for two reasons. One, if the citizens are bad people, wajanja, God will bring mjanja raised to power 6. Mjanja atakuibia hata pant. And if we are good people, God will bring good people who are kind. and considerate. People who will not sleep until everybody is asleep. People who will not... Last night I presented my signatures, Mr. Chairman, and all around your office were women who were naked. Naked. I was with my daughter and I was ashamed. She was asking me, what is this? You may be caring of inside your office, but I wish you check around what is happening around your office. So I want to actually advise everybody who desires change. If you thought of, I want to be a guide and I change this country, you are a good person. You have the best for us. But the change that they want should not be pushed, should not be pressed. You see, never, Mr. Chairman, never undermine a potential leader. Never. Don't judge. Last time, we went through all the tedious programs that you people have listed. 2,000 signatures. You must be from your party. If somebody from Jubilee admires my idea and he is registered with the Jubilee, he can support me, my presidential bid. If somebody from ODM, who before going for ODM did not see me and has realized that I'm there and my ideas can be sold, and buys my idea, is it wrong? Is it a sin? Is it a crime? We keep quiet, and I want to tell everybody here, don't worry because it is God in charge. If everybody hates you, if everybody hates you, their hate will not decrease anything for you. And if everybody loves you, their love will not increase anything for you because they are not in charge. It is the Almighty God who does not sleep and does not slumber. Don't worry. Don't worry. Present what you have and focus more on God than the sick people we have in this country. Mr. Chairman, it is your institution that is vetting who will go for which post. If you give the certificate to a candidate, those organizing the debate should not come up with, it is a two-horse race. It is you. Last time you were assisted by the court. And it is the organization, it is the IEBC that will say this person, this lady is fit to sell her ideas to the country. And then somebody says, now we have two people. You cannot stand up and say, no, it is not you. I've decided. We have used the taxpayers' money to vet who will go for this. And we have decided there are 50 people. Give the avenues to 50 people. Those who want to organize for the debates, whether presidential or MPs or whatever, are talking of will come up with international relations. America took two people, two-horse race, and they are now almost giving a vote of no confidence because they are shocked. So we are human beings. We are human beings and we don't know many things. We know 0.1. Let's trust on God. And for those who are in administration and for those who are in leadership, let's take charge. And let's be God. Let's consult God. We can make mistakes. Let's accept our mistakes. Those supporting and those supporting failures. Let me tell you, if your father has failed you, it is kind of you. And it is a responsibility to tell, Dad, go and rest. Go and rest. So a young man, a young graduate, this country has been frustrated. Kenyans have been frustrated. Well, last time, we were okay. This time, hata ugali juu ya meza, unga hakuna. And then still, you want to push these funny things. Please, let's be sincere. We will leave this world. Mzee Jomo Kenyatta is before God. Oginga Odinga is before God. I will go and meet God, and God will ask me how I played it. I have to be very sincere. If there is a wrong, we must agree and say this is wrong. If there is a right, and we must agree and say this is right. And Mr. Chairman, I wish you well, and I pray for you, by the way, to succeed. Yeah? I'm wondering, with the Kalonzo Raila monkey business here, because the presidency is still there, and they told us one person, I don't know. Already it has started. Mungu akusaidie mzee. Thank you, sir.
We thank you very much. We will have the chairman Chairman, do you want to take 2 more questions, or do you want to? Okay, we'll take 2 more questions, and then we'll have the chairman speak. Next.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I just have 3 concerns. One is about the campaign schedule. You've asked us to give you the campaign schedule for all the presidential candidates. I think after you get the schedule, I think it's important for us to sit together and harmonize so that we don't have clashes during the campaign period. So I think it will be important for us to be able to harmonize those schedules. Number 2, I think we need to improve more on communication between yourselves and the political parties. Some of the information is coming to us a bit too late, and we're finding it a bit difficult to meet the deadlines when the information comes a bit late, and the processes that we have to go through are a bit tedious. So would actually request that if you would have a schedule of meetings that you're able to propose so that we know well in advance when we are supposed to have those consultative meetings. Number 2, how are we going to be able to have consultations more frequently so that we understand the processes better? We are now, we have the electronic system coming up. We need to understand how it's going to work so that you get buy-in from all the political parties and all the aspirants and all the players. Lastly, we are having a bit of a challenge when we are talking about proposers and seconders. All proposers and seconders for all the aspirants in the whole country must be registered voters. Now, we are having a challenge to be able to confirm that because we don't have a register of voters. So we really are going to give you proposers and seconders, but I'm not sure whether they are all going to be voters because we don't have a document to check against. So I wish you'd shed more light on that so that we are able to make sure we have almost 2,000 candidates, or rather aspirants in Jubilee, and we have different proposers and seconders for each of those aspirants that we have. We need clarification as to how we are going to verify that they are all indeed registered voters. Thank you.
Okay. What I wanted to raise has already been raised by Madam. It was about this campaign schedule. The practicability about it, because what happens is that when I bring you the schedule, the other candidate brings you the schedule, saying that 8th we are going to be Narok. Now, how will you monitor that? So I was suggesting that, Madam Chairman, have a meeting with the candidates, and then they can bring you the schedule which you will approve. Because if I bring you mine without consulting the others, it might clash. The second issue is about the press. The press, according to law, is supposed to give all the presidential candidates equal airtime. But as we talk now, the press has already decided those whom they want to give airtime. And as the referee, I will urge you, Mr. Chairman, to rein on the members of the press, at least to give all the aspirants and the candidates equal airtime. That's all that I wanted to raise because others have been raised. And the third one is that I want you to have a bit of leniency on the independent candidates because of the challenges. One, the political parties has offices and have agents all over the country. They can always do what they want when it comes to collecting the signature and so on. But independent candidates has to rely on themselves. And because of that, you are the other chairman. There's a time we wanted to contest, but we were time bad. I don't want to go into that story. And when we met somewhere, he told us to him, independent candidates were just jokers, and they did not want them in the ballot. But that's now history. So, Mr. Chairman, like when you're talking about these, the software and so on, some of us, as independent candidates, we have not been even trained. Giving my case, yesterday is when I came to your office, and by 4 I was told to bring my IT guys to be taught. By the time he was leaving your place, it was around 5. And that's when he was told what to do and given the software, the soft copy. So in the absence of that voter education and candidate education, give independent candidates, because some of them have been bruised in wherever they were going, the nomination, the other parties, and so on. Give them some huruma, so that even if there's minor mistakes here, you can overlook and make them be on the ballot. Thank you.
We thank you very much for all the contributions that you have made today. We want to assure you that this is one of many forums that we'll be having with you know, as I said, Madam Nazlin, we are going to have, this is just one of very many meetings that we'll have. We will take you through issues actually of security. I hear you talk about. Let me just explain what other issues we have on the menu for all of you once you are cleared. You move from the stage of becoming aspirants to becoming candidates. We will also sit down with you and go through the election technology that will be used for purposes of the elections, the KIMS technology. We will go through with you the procedures for voting day, how polling day will look like. We will go through with all of you how the National Tallying Center is going to look like. We will go through with you all the mechanisms we are putting in place to avoid, should I use it, fraud during the election process, the electioneering process. So for us, this is only one of the very many meetings that we're going to have with all of you. Also on behalf of the chairman and the rest of my commissioners, to really emphasize that for us, all of you are candidates. We do not have a bias about independent candidates or candidates that are being submitted by, aspirants that are being submitted by political parties. For us, you're all Kenyans. It is up to the Kenyans to decide on your fate. As Kenyans, we cannot choose and say we are pro these independent candidates or we are pro the political party candidates. Our commitment is to all Kenyans, to all of you as candidates, and that is why we've engaged with all of you. We could have done it differently. We could have called a meeting, a separate meeting for independents and a separate meeting for political parties. But no, we see all of you as candidates, and that is what you are. Of course, there are teething problems. This is new for all of us. It is new for you as aspirants who are running as independents for the first time. And it's very new for us as the commission who have to look at independent candidates, both as new commissioners who've only been in office for for a little bit over 100 days, but also even for our own staff who've not had to handle such a large number of independents and candidates in general. So when you see as you're making those, they're not deliberate mistakes. They're things that we are all learning and we are moving together as we learn and as we work through this. So please understand, when you have some of those delays or when you have some of the mixed information being sent, it is not deliberate. Honorable Nyaga, it is not those administrative barriers that you put in place to block people, absolutely not. A learning for all of us, and we want you to understand that that is really what it is. We do not see independent candidates as lesser Kenyans. They are Kenyan citizens who, by the Constitution, are allowed to run as independent candidates. With that, I'd like to give the floor to Chairman Chebukati, as a lot of the questions that were being asked were of a legal nature, and he happens to be the only lawyer in the commission, as in among the commissioners. So I'll give you the chance, Mr. Chairman, to respond to the questions. And then after he responds to the questions, we will go to the last part where we will look at how agreeing on the formula for presentation of the nomination papers on the 28th and the 29th. Thank you, and Karibu, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Roslin. Thank all of you for your participation, your questions, your comments, and that's why we're here. We are here to engage, discuss, agree, and maybe agree to disagree. But this engagement is good for us as a commission. I just want to touch on a few areas, or rather try and answer as much as I can. The first question on independence, as far as supporters lists are concerned. And I just want to say this. As a commission, we came in office on the 18th, and was it 18th January, Commissioner Rossi? We swore to abide by the law, the Constitution and the law of the land. And we have no intention of acting contrary to the law. Now, the law is passed by Parliament. The Constitution 2010 was passed by Kenyans, and the Constitution does not operationalize itself. If you look at the Constitution, it says clearly this provision, Parliament shall make law to operationalize this provision, this article, this article. So Parliament made laws to operationalize provisions of the Constitution. And as a commission, we've done our level best to follow the law.
is that you are actually at that level of a Supreme Court judge where you can actually interpret a constitutional provision and give an advisory opinion that will cure that conflict. I think because of the conflicting information from your offices, maybe you really need to assure us on this question, because some of us do not want to go to court. You know, going to court is a waste of time for both of us, and we really want to hit the campaign trail without any more time wasting.
Thank you very much.
One more item. If I don't mention this, the diaspora will not be necessarily very happy. We face specific challenges, including lack of ability to vote, and also the barriers of being able to travel back and forth, and that is not mentioned in a lot of provisions that are you know, available. So you have to compete at the same playing field with the rest of the people. So I would like to see what is the place of the diaspora candidacy and what does it mean, because to collect signatures, how we can be allowed to collect signatures abroad and also participate locally. So that's just something twist that I needed to, you know, bring up.
Thank you. Mine is on the security issues. I will appreciate your response. I think the court will determine the rest. Unfortunately, the court hearing proceeds on the 5th. IEBC has failed its deadline to serve me in 3 days, which was yesterday. So it looks like there's going to be further delays. By the time the court makes a judgment, the deadlines will have finished. So I appreciate what I've been informed so far, and I hope this is what's happening, that you'll continue engaging the independents and the petitioners in court. Let the court determine finally whether we are valid to be on the ballot or not. Second, on the issue of security, I'm really concerned that IEBC is expecting candidates to submit to them our campaign schedules. First, Mr. Chairman, that's unconstitutional. Secondly, I'm a victim of gross targeted systematic persecution in Kenya. And 3 judge benches have ordered for my security to the IG from 2012. I have immunity after the respondents, which is the police, the DPP, DCI, admitted and conceded to my applications of persecution. And the courts granted me no investigation, can't be arrested, can't be questioned, you know, those kind of, including my servants. So I would be concerned now that the IEBC, a government organ, is going to know exactly where I'm moving and how I'm moving. I have been shot at. A lot has happened. I've been chased by gunmen on the streets. So for me, it's very important. And you know, like you can have a schedule and we can give it to you. But tomorrow I get a call, I have to be at Turkana, it's a big thing, we can't miss it. So that's my constitutional right to determine how and at what second I want to change my schedule. So we really would be concerned. In fact, many of us are going to be appointed state security soon. I'm even wondering if I should take it or not, because I believe those are spies. And I really, like I came here with an Uber, and I'm going to live in a different vehicle. I have to do those things. So, Mr. Chairman, I beg of you to reconsider that. It's unconstitutional for us to give you those details. It's actually giving private information to a government agency, which is unconstitutional. Please reconsider that on the public interest. Thank you.
I thank you very much for your remarks. I'll respond, before the chair takes the floor, I'll respond quickly to the question that was asked on the voters register by former commissioner. As you are aware, Madam Commissioner, we are working right now on 2 processes to clean up the register. We are going through the audit by KPMG that is required by law. We are also concurrently going through the biometric voter verification process that is going to be completed by the 9th of June. So any register will be available only after all those processes have been done. Remember that the law also requires that we take into consideration the changes or recommendations that will have been put forward by KPMG after submission of that report to Parliament. So it's only sometime in June. We can give you the specific dates at a later time, but it's sometime in June that will be, later in June, that we'll be able to have a certified register as required by the law to all of you. And that is why the chairman has offered that in the interim, we can run the information against our own register to make sure, the interim register that we have, to make sure that your supporters are and seconders are registered voters. But we'll provide specific details on a specific date once we have some clarity on those registration processes. Daktari from the diaspora. Yes, we care a lot about people from the diaspora. I'm actually one of those who lived for so many years in the diaspora, 17 years almost. So I mean, we care about them because they're Kenyan citizens, and the Constitution provides for Kenyan citizens wherever they are, including in prisons, to vote. And, you know, we've thought very hard on how to ensure that we extend the right of voting to all Kenyans in the diaspora. We realize that it is a huge operational task for us. As you're aware, as new commissioners, we came into office on the 18th of January, which gave us a very short time to be able to extend that right to every Kenyan. What as a commission we were able to do is to increase it just slightly so that we move beyond the East African countries that voted in 2013, and we added South Africa to the list. So right now, the countries in which Kenyans who live there can vote for you as a member of the diaspora, as a candidate from the diaspora, is Burundi. You have Burundi, you have Rwanda, you have Uganda, you have Tanzania, and you have South Africa. In Tanzania, there are 2 polling stations. You have one in Arusha, and you have one in Dar es Salaam. So those are the centers, that the polling stations or polling areas that you will have for persons living in the diaspora to have the right to vote. And unfortunately, they will only be voting for the presidential candidate, again, for obvious logistical reasons. But as a presidential candidate, I'm sure you don't have a problem with that, because you can be assured of a vote once you convince them that you have the qualities to be able to be their president, which is your job to do. But in terms of other logistical arrangements that we need to make for persons living in the diaspora, I think administratively, there's nothing much we can do, apart from assuring you that wherever there are meetings, you'll be informed in time if you need to be here for purposes of those meetings, and that we all expect you, just like for all the other candidates, to give us your campaign schedule, including your campaign schedule in the diaspora or in the prisons. I thank you very much for that. I see we have... Okay, Chairman, if you allow me, we'll take just 2 last questions and then you'll respond.
Thank you very much. I'm Olekina from NASA. I'm asking a question related to the cleaning of the register. There's a lot of doubt on how that work is being done, because we expected the public to be included, or public participation. What steps have you taken to include all the stakeholders in the cleaning of the register?
Did you have a question? Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Olekina. I'll respond to the question on the register. The law is very clear on what the requirements of the register was, the cleaning of the register was. The law specifies that the commission shall engage the services of a reputable firm to undertake the audit of the register. That is all that the law says. And that is what the IEBC has done. It has gone through the processes, including court procedures, to ensure that you have KPMG in place to audit the register. Mr. Olekina, you'll agree with me that there are 3 main methodologies for auditing the register. You can have the people to list type. You can have the person to list type of methodology in terms of auditing the register, where you can have individuals participate, people go out and actually look to ensure that each person who has attained the age to be registered as a voter has been given the right to register. You also have the computer-based methodology, where you can run the data that you have in your records against the basic data that exists. So there are different methodologies. There are 3 main ones. But the methodology that KPMG has chosen to use is the one of running the data through against existing baselines that it has explained. And that is a different methodology. They could have chosen a different methodology. That methodology was explained to all stakeholders. There was a meeting with the political parties, with the PPLC. There was a meeting with civil society. There were meetings with religious organizations. And at no point, did the law require a specific. The law does not say that for purposes of the KPMG audit, this is the methodology that is going to be used. It leaves it open to the company to choose which methodology it's going to use for purposes of the audit of the register. And that is the methodology that they have used. They have explained this methodology to various stakeholders, including political parties. And I think that is what we have right now. I know that there are different views in terms of methodology to be used for purposes of the audit of the register. There is no one methodology that is better than the other. It's just a choice of which methodology you're using. And this specific one is different. I know that the others would have wished us to use a person to list methodology, but that is not what was provided for. There was no specification in the law that said, this is the methodology that you're going to use. The law just basically said, do the audit of the register. And it leaves it to the experts to then decide which methodology are you going to use when you are doing the audit of the register. And we hope that all political parties will continue to engage with KPMG as they finalize the audit of the register. We will make the findings of the KPMG audit public to Kenyans. As you know, it's required by law for us to submit the report to Parliament. All political parties are represented in Parliament. They can debate the report, they can look at it. It's supposed to go to both Parliament and the Senate. And those are some ways in which we Kenyans have given our authority to our representatives who are members of Parliament to act on our behalf when looking at the results of the audit of the register. So I think that is really all I can say for now in terms of the audit of the register. And with that, I am going to give the floor to Chairman Chebukati to give responses to some of the questions that have been asked. Chairman. There were some legal ones asked by a learned friend of yours.
Yeah. The question on by aspirant Aukot. Now, you say that the Constitution is conflicting with the law? I would like you to specifically address me on that, if possible in writing, because my reading is otherwise. And if you do so, I will definitely get back to you. Maybe point out which are these areas, because I've read Article 137, 138, together with the law, I mean the subject law, and I don't see any conflict. But I would be more than happy if you can address us on that, if possible by the end of the day, so that we can get back to you. The campaign schedules are very important. If Party IEBC is having a rally at Uhuru Park, then XYZ decides to walk there with their supporters, what happens? Mheshimiwa Naslin, you know what will happen? People will fight. And that's why we must have these campaign schedules agreed on, so that there's no conflict in venues, in times of meetings, and places. We don't want violence in this country, we want peace, and it starts with having structured campaign schedules. So let's take the campaign schedule very seriously, so that we don't have cases of violence breaking out during this period. Then we have the issue of, a question was asked by a gentleman from the media on why some candidates have sent representatives. It's allowed in the law. I think Regulation 1617 of General Regulations allows, if candidates engaged, you can send a representative. That's the law of the land, so we have no problem with candidates sending representatives in this meeting. So I don't know whether there's any other issue, but I think we have covered most of them, yes.
I want assurance from you because NASA has made it very clear that if the court rules otherwise, they are not going to boycott election, there will be no elections. And you said nothing. Can you assure me and us that elections are going to be there? Because they say there will be no elections. Can you give me an assurance so that I start planning and programming my campaigns? Thank you.
You're not from NASA, are you?
No, I'm independent. And they say there will be elections. So how sure are you assuring that there will be elections?
Well, I believe you are referring to the appeal case filed in court. Now, as a lawyer, I will tell you that when the matter is in court, we would not want to make comment which otherwise influence the outcome of the court case. Now, what I do know is that there is an appeal filed in court seeking to clarify Articles 138 of the Constitution, 138, 3C, and 10 of the Constitution, which the High Court perhaps did not address in the manner which the Constitution was written. But as far as the issue of boycott is concerned, I can't comment on it. Those are statements made politically. What I do know is that the Commission is ready, is preparing Kenyans for an election on 8th of August. There will be an election on 8th of August, and I want to urge those making such comments to respect the rule of law, so that let's give all institutions in the country a chance to participate in making this country a better place. So that's all I want to say. I don't want to comment on the matter pending before the court. Yes,
Mr. Chairman, I think when they called us, or they called representatives of independent candidates or political parties, the instruction was clear. You explained the law. You're a sober man. May God bless you. They said, we need the aspirants, the candidates themselves. I asked the secretary, please ask her whether we can send a representative. And the person calling from your office was a bit not tolerant. And she said, it is the presidential candidate. That's one. It could be a mistake. The person calling could not be as informed as you are about the law. Number two, I've accepted. A representative could be sent. Why 10? If an independent candidate will have sent 10 people to represent him or her here, what could happen at the reception desk, Mr. Chairman? I was given a limit of 2. Fine. Jubilee sent 10. Listen, excuse me, I'm saying, I could be right or wrong. I've heard in the introduction, thank God you had an introduction. I'm from that, I'm from that, I'm from that. If this meeting is to be paid by the taxpayers' money, anybody who sent more than a representative should pay for himself or herself. That is fair. That is fair. Otherwise, hata mimi niko na watu, and we can, yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. We've come to the end of our meeting, and we just want to clarify one thing. We needed to have a conclusion. You know, sir, with all due respect, we've actually tried as much as possible to give everybody room, but please keep it very brief.
Just a positive remark. I know we might be very hard on you. Somebody says in the good book that open rebuke is better than secret love. And I think we're all doing this for the good of the land and for the success of the entire exercise. And I know Kenyans are working so hard to trust you. And as all aspirants who are all participants in the same game, we should do all things possible to win the trust of Kenyans. And IEBC still is a challenge on your side as well. We are willing to support you 100%, but of course, you have to play your part consistently. Issues that portrays distrust, especially from the voters, they need to be dealt with them very well. Remember, I highlighted issues here when we were meeting as party leaders on certain comments made by certain international envoys regarding the election exercise. And when a chairman, to this effect, we've not heard of your response, because it is our mandate. Sometimes also when we're fighting, when we are invaded externally, the moments when we forget about our fights and we look at who, because historically some diplomats have made remarks which actually add to inflammation, and also we have followed up. Actually, we've noticed that some do not have a positive interest for our country. So as custodian and the protector of the entire process, I think, Mr. Chairman, you need to put your foot down. And where possible, we are highlighting all this, not to castigate, but it's for our interest that this process succeed, and is for the Kenyan good, that in our generation and in our times when we participate in an exercise like this, it should go to history that we gave them our best. That will be my advice, and that will be my remarks.
Thank you very much for that. We have one important thing that we just need to convey to you. Remember, we said that we have nomination process on 2 days at KICC, 28th and 29th. We know that in a room like this, we might not be able to pick around and say, Mheshimiwa utakuja hii siku na wewe Mheshimiwa utakuja hii siku nyingine. So what we would like you to do is to let us know if you have any specific constraints on any of those 2 days. That is Sunday or Monday. If you have any specific constraints, please let us know what those constraints are. In the meantime, what we will be doing as a commission is that we are going to look at 3 basic really criteria. I mean, we can ballot, we can just put your names in and then pick one and choose on the dates. But also we will look at maybe using your last names to be able to come up with a calendar. Or we could also use based on who registered first with us and use that criteria to come up with the dates for you. But what we would like to do is that our offices are available, our staff, Immaculate, Salome, our Deputy Cabinet Secretary and others are available here. And Betty and others are here. If you have any specific constraints on any of those 2 days, if there's a date that you cannot be able to make it, please let us know. If there's a time that you cannot be able to make it on those 2 days, please let us know so that we can be able to come up with a calendar that meets your requirements and meets your and addresses your constraints. With that, I now have the distinct pleasure of inviting Commissioner Margaret Mochanya to give a vote of thanks. Karibu, Commissioner Mochanya.
Good morning, each one of you, again. It's my pleasure to really thank each one of you. Wale ambao mumeacha kazi zenu zote, mukasema muje hapa, tujadiliane swala hili ambalo ni la nchi yetu yote. Sote ni wa Kenya. Hata IEBC commissioners and secretariats are Kenyans. We don't have any other Kenya. So I'm so much pleased for those people who have come here. Tumesikiliza sana kila mmoja lile jambo linalomsumbua ambalo halieleweki, na nataka kuwaambia kwamba hakuna mtu yoyote swali lake halikuwa la maana. Kila mmoja wenu swali lako lilikuwa la maana na limeongeza ule uadilifu wa mambo haya tunayofanya kama IEBC. Na hasa nataka kuwapongeza pia independent kwa vile mmekuwa mkichunguza pia, mwataka kujua tunawaonaje. Wacha nikuambie, independent candidates kutoka MCA mpaka president, pia nyinyi ni candidates. Once you are cleared by the IEBC, sisi tunawaona kama candidates. Hakuna candidate yoyote tutamchukulia muhimu zaidi kuliko mwingine, because we are referees. Hata leo ukileta referee anayetoka Arsenal na awe anakuja kuangalia ama kuchezesha mpira kati ya Harambee Stars na Man U, yeye atabaki tu ni referee na ataangalia foul ni foul, bao ni bao. Na hiyo ndio kazi yetu sisi kama IEBC tutakayoifanya, na jinsi tulivyoapishwa kwamba tutaifanya kazi hii bila uoga, bila kupendelea, bila kujaribu kusaidia mtu kushinda, hatutafanya. Na tangu tuapishwe, tangu nilipofanya kazi na hawa commissioners wengine 6 tukiongezwa na chairman wetu, nataka kuwahakikishia Wakenya, sijaona mmoja wetu yoyote aliye na tabia ama ila fulani ya kwamba siku ile tutakapoanza uchaguzi wetu atakuwa na mpango wa kutangaza mtu ambaye hajashinda. Kwa hivyo nyote ni watu wa muhimu kwetu kama IEBC, and I am very proud of Kenyans how you are determined. You want to see this country doing a very credible election, and we are there for you. We are ready, and we are trying our best according to Lord's what he has given us in our mind, our ability, and our health. We are going to do our best, I promise, on behalf of these IEBC commissioners. And today, I want to wish you well. Wakati tunafumukana, muende na amani ya Bwana, tena muwe mukiamini sisi ni referee ambao hatupendelei yeyote, na siku ya kupiga kura, mwanzo kama wewe ni independent, my advice, wewe piga kura, rudi nyumbani kwa sababu itakuwa on live TV. Enda uangalie vile kura zako zinaendelea kusonga. Alafu wale agent uliotupatia tuko nao pale KICC ama itakuwa ni Bomas, waachie hiyo kazi, watafanya vizuri. Kwa sababu hata pale kila kitu kitakuwa ni transparent. Hakuna kadi yoyote tulionayo chini ya meza. Mbarikiwe sana. Asante.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Mwachanya, for the vote of thanks. Just want to clarify again that after consulting with Chairman Chebukati, I think the decision is that we will be using the last names. Tutanzia the last name. So if your last name like mine is Akombe, wewe ndio utakuwa wa kwanza. So we'll start with the last name. So if your last name begins with A, like mine, then you'll be the first. And then then we'll follow that order. Unless there are specific constraints, and if you have any specific constraints, please come over, talk to our staff, talk to us, talk to any of us. And as the chairman always says, the IEBC operates on an open door policy. You are invited to come at any time. You have our telephone numbers. They are public numbers because we are public servants. So you are free to call us at any time to clarify or to respond to any questions that you might have. As we've said, we will continue having these discussions. This is just a beginning of our process that we'll be working together. To remind you again, the dates are 28th, 29th of May at KICC. And that information will also be made available in the 3 dailies, and we'll also have that information available on our website. With that, I'd like to hand over the mic to our Deputy Cabinet Secretary to lead us in our final closings. Thank you very much.
Mine is very brief, just to thank all of us for availing time to come for this important briefing. And just like has been said, the schedule will be made available in our newspapers and as well as on the website. So with those few remarks, I just want to thank you all and to say this meeting is now closed. Thank you.
Well, it has been an eventful morning for the IEBC, whereby they have had an interaction with most of the people who have applied to run as presidential candidates in the August elections. You will also realize that out of those who came at this function, most of them are those of the independent nature, those who have decided to go for the elections as independents, and also some of them who have also been sponsored by their particular parties. But the big two who are considered, the big two, that is President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga, they sent representatives to this meeting, whereby the IEBC chairman Wafula Chebukati has said is not against the law. But there are several issues that have actually come out from this meeting. Top of the agenda is that the independents are actually blaming the IEBC of coming up with laws that are targeted at locking them from the ballot in the August elections. Key amongst these points that they brought out is the fact that they are required to have about 2,000 signatures per county from at least 24 counties. That makes 48,000 signatures, people who are going to nominate them. And this is excluding a proposer and a challenger for the elections. And most of them are saying that it is a task that is not required because they want to speak to the 19.6 million voters who are already registered. It is a matter that has actually taken most of the time for this particular meeting that had been called by the IEBC, and most of them were complaining and they wanted the IEBC to waive this matter and actually give them that opportunity to speak to most of the Kenyans. Others are arguing that it is actually a point that the independent candidates or those who are running for the presidential ticket, they do not have such numbers. But the IEBC chairman, that is Wafula Chebukati, has stood on the podium and insisted that it is a requirement that is within the election laws, and it is also a subsequent one in the constitution, that they should actually be having such a number that will be presented. And he says that it is a matter of the IEBC following the law, and if they do not want to conform to such laws, they should move to court. One of the presidential aspirants, that is Nazilin Omar, who is the only woman in the race, has actually said that she is already in court trying to challenge such a matter, and the case will be heard on the 5th of June. That is way past. They have submitted their papers. The meeting today also, Ashai followers, was seeking to tell the aspirants what they should be having as they be going to submit their nominations. That is on the 28th and the 29th of this month. You remember that the IEBC had dubbed this as a pre-nomination meeting, one of the many meetings that they will be having with the aspirants, and they were telling them, they were giving them a checklist of what they should be having as they go ahead to present their papers. The details were so much to them that they were actually even giving them the size of the passport photo that they should be presenting to the IEBC. There were also questions that came up about the degrees, because one of the requirements for you to run as a president in this country is that you must be having a degree. But one of the aspirants, that is Nazilin Umar, who actually spoke extensively on behalf of the independent candidates, was saying that one of the requirements for you to be a member of parliament is that you do not have a degree. It's not a must that you have a degree, but in the requirements for you to be a presidential candidate, you must have the requirements to be a member of parliament. So they were trying to bring that issue. Another sticky issue that has actually come out of this particular function is the fact that the chairman, through Commissioner Rosalina Kombe, has said that they have set up a team that is a multi-agency team that is already vetting some of the candidates that have been, some of the aspirants who have been submitted by their various political parties, and they will be giving a report. This multi-agency team has EACC, it has the Commission for Higher Education and University Education, it has representatives from the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions and all those members. And these members are supposed to vet all the candidates and send reports to this particular point. Now, these are some of the points that have come out of this meeting, and we'll be keeping you abreast on what has been happening in our subsequent bulletins. But for now, we will